The Blast from Our Past Network.
Lock your doors, close your windows, turn out your lights, for chills and thrills await you. It's time for Podcasting After Dark with your hosts, Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer. Stay with a friend, say your prayers as grisly ghouls close in to seal your doom, and enjoy this bonus episode of Podcasting After Dark.
What's up, everybody? Co-host Corey here with another mini movie review for you. And this time I am talking about 1968's Danger Diabolik by Mario Bava. If you listen to my Planet of the Vampires mini review, you know that I was excited to get to this one. You also might have heard me refer to it as Danger Diabolik. That's my brain. That's how my brain works. When I was a kid, I used to read X-Men back in the 80s, and I thought you pronounced rogue ragu. You know, sometimes there's words out there that you only read and you've never actually, heard say out in the world. So when I was watching the movie and with my wife and they refer to him as Diabolik, I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Anyways, as you probably heard on that review, I was just enthralled by Planet of the Vampires. Mario Bava also directed that. And, I love the colors, I love the set design and everything. And Danger Diabolik had been on my radar for a while, but it was kind of low on my watch list until I watched Planet of the Vampires. So I wound up ordering the Kino 4K, and my wife and I watched it. And I gotta say, we were both blown away. I mean, I really didn't know much about this going into it. I actually thought Diabolik was going to be a super spy. I didn't know he was a super thief, and which makes it all the much cooler. But there's going to be a lot of James Bond comparisons, because there are. It just feels like this is the other side to that coin. So basically, you got Diabolik, played by John Philip Law, and his sultry life partner, Eva Kent, played by Marisa Mell. And they basically just go on a heist spree, to fund the next heist spree, or to, make love in the millions of dollars that they steal. The cool thing about this movie is they don't seem to have any other agenda. They basically just steal money to make love in the money or to fund the whole next operation. Their entire lives, their entire being is to just do these heists, and they are so good at it. So the movie follows them, and they're pulling off a couple heists throughout the course of the film. The police are after them. Other gangsters, other crime members are after them, and there's this giant plot to kind of entrap these two characters, Diabolik and Eva. And here's the thing, I don't want to spoil too much, even though this movie came out in 1968, because I really want you all to watch this. And there's a lot of twists and turns that are just so much fun throughout this entire film. But I will say what stands out, multiple things stand out. But what I will talk about is the look of this film. It is a comic book come to life. And unlike, Batman 66, the Adam West show came out just 2 years prior, and that plays like a parody of comic books, like a parody of the Batman comics. I have always loved the way the Batman show looked, but I was never a big fan of it because I wanted things to be a bit more serious. And, we get that with Batman Begins, but I never quite enjoyed the 60s version of Batman. That being said, I would kind of like to go back and rewatch it because it's been 20 years since I really sat down, and Jesus, maybe 30. But the difference is Danger Diabolik. It's got the same visuals, but it takes the source material seriously. It's trying to actually bring the comic to life. And the comic, called just Diabolik, was created by two Italian sisters, Angela and Luciana Giussani. And, I've never actually read it, but to me, the movie feels like a comic book come to life. And right down to the way John Phillip Law's like eyebrows look. I've looked at now, obviously, images of the comic. He looks just like Diabolik in the comic. The cool thing is, in the comic book, the character's mask is like so skin tight that you can like see his nose, see his mouth, and I don't think it's supposed to be anything else other than like an artistic representation, an artistic rendering. But in the movie, the cool thing is they don't just like give him a mask to wear. It seems like it's actually like latex paint painted on him to actually, keep his features prominent. He's got the eyebrows too. They match the character perfectly. And one thing I found very interesting, I'm watching the movie, and I kind of don't do any research on it before going into it. So again, my wife and I are completely blind. And this entire movie, Diabolik is completely devoted to Ava. And unlike James Bond, which is, created by a man, Ian Fleming, who is like a womanizer, Diabolik does everything for his, life partner. One of the heists is just to get her this necklace for her birthday. And I fucking love this. I love how devoted the character is. It's weirdly refreshing, especially when I expected this to be like James Bond. I honestly expected Diabolik to be, womanizing and, hooking up with a bunch of different women and everything. Again, I knew nothing about this going into it. So to have him be devoted to Ava the entire film, to the point where, she gets captured, he's got to go after her, and everything. And I didn't even know it was created by two sisters, but I could sense that it was not, created by a man like James Bond was. I love James Bond as much as the next guy. I love sleaze as much as the next guy. There's a reason I'm called Sleazy C. I love it. But this is kind of refreshing to actually see, sort of the other side of that coin, which also kind of, puts this on the other side of the James Bond coin. Diabolik and Eva, they have an underground lair that looks like something out of James Bond, one of the villain lairs. But, unlike James Bond, you're following the bad guy here and you're rooting for the bad guy, even though, like, the cops aren't corrupt or anything in this. They may be a little bit incompetent, maybe the higher-ups and everything, but they're not necessarily corrupt. But you're still not rooting for them. You're rooting for Diabolik and Ava. And it is a wild ride from beginning to end. Like I was saying, the visuals are amazing. The costumes are, oh my God. I mean, it's 1968. It's bananas. The colors are wild. I highly recommend picking up the 4K because just like with Planet of the Vampires, it is worth seeing this in the best possible, visual representation. The colors really pop on the Kino 4K. I'm not getting paid for this, guys and gals. We don't have any kind of deal with Kino or anything. I had to pay full price for that Blu-ray and or the 4K, and it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. I highly recommend picking it up. The story is awesome. It's a lot of fun. It's interesting because at one point I think it's over. And it has like another 20 minutes, almost 30 minutes left of the movie. It is coming in at like an hour and 45, but it's such a visual treat to watch throughout the film that I never cared. I never cared at all at the length. It's horny too. And it's not like, there's no nudity or anything like that, but it's a horny film. And man, I just wish they made horny movies again. Everything is just so, you have to hit every market and everything has to be for everyone. And I don't believe that every piece of media has to be made for every single person to enjoy. But this is this is a horny comic book come to life. This is the visuals of Batman 66, but taking the protagonist seriously and adding in a lot of sex appeal. And, that's kind of what you can imagine what the look of this is. But, it's got its share of violence, not obviously graphic or anything like that, but it's still James Bondy. People are getting shot. People are getting, goons and grunts are getting killed and everything. It doesn't shy away from all of that. And honestly, it's really smart. You always think older movies aren't going to be that clever, but even when I go back and I rewatch like the original Dr. Caligari, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I'm always reminded that Storytellers have always been clever, even in the film medium, and here there was one scene. There's one scene where Diabolik is trying to get away from the police and everything. They've actually laid a trap for him. You think he's going to get caught. He runs to the top of this castle. There's a catapult on top of the castle. He looks at it. You know what's coming, guys and gals. He's going to use the catapult to jump, over the ledge and into the ocean below and everything. And they show it. And it looks so cheesy and stupid because, it looks like a dummy getting launched out of a catapult. And I was like, I kind of groaned and everything. I was like, oh, okay. And that's what I expected. I expected something like that. So the cops run down and, look for his body. And it turns out that it was a ruse. He had taken off his costume and you probably stuffed it with something. They didn't really get that elaborate into it, but he took his costume off and launched his costume over the edge with the catapult. So he has to sort of run out of there in his skivvies. I was like, holy shit. That accounts for why it looks so cheesy because it wasn't even a person in that. And I was like, you know what, Mario Bava, you got me. You got me on that one. So yeah, I just loved it. Seriously, I love this from head to toe. The whole time I was watching, I was like, why don't they make movies like this anymore? Same thing I said in the Planet of the Vampires episode. Why don't they make colorful movies like this? Why don't they make these fun comic books come to life? And I started thinking, I was like, well, was Batman and Robin, with George Clooney, was it trying to be this? Is that what the idea was? And I got to go back and I got to rewatch The Shadow. And as a kid, I did always like The Rocketeer growing up, and I thought that was a pretty good representation of the comic book, and I still do, although the movie's kind of slow now. I wish The Rocketeer was in it a bit more, but I still have a love for it. But I'm trying to think, and it's been so long since I've seen Batman and Robin, was that trying to do this? But what I think is the difference, just like with the Batman 66, it's supposed to be sort of a parody, sort of silly. Danger Diabolik, it's supposed to be serious in a way. And I'm sure at the time, they're looking at it and they're like, this is obviously a little bit silly, but it never presents itself as being silly. It presents itself as being serious, and it just has a look to it. It looks like the comic book come to life. So, I don't know. I haven't seen Batman and Robin in such a long time. Obviously, a lot of people, I didn't quite care for it. Wouldn't mind giving it a revisit in my older age just to see if maybe my sensibilities have changed. But is the failure of that movie the reason we don't have comic book films like this? Maybe, I don't know. This is a discussion I have to have with somebody. I don't think I can work it out all right here. I want to just really go back and just think about this movie, Danger Diabolik. It's fun from beginning to end. It's a visual delight. The colors explode off the screen. The characters are fucking cool. Just cool. Diabolik and Ava are awesome. I love how much they love each other. I love the fact that they're just thieves to be thieves, and again, they're not trying to they're not giving to a charity or something. They're they're actually really good, but they're thieves, but they're good. There's no Robin Hood sensibilities here. No, they're super thieves to just fund more thievery and have a good time doing it and driving awesome fucking cars, guys and gals. Awesome fucking cars. And, to build awesome underground layers and to just have sex and millions of dollars. It's just, wow. It's just fucking cool, just fucking cool. Anybody have any recommendations where I should go from here? I know that John Philip Law is in Barbarella, and I have the the Arrow special edition that they put out, and I've seen it before. I haven't seen it in a long time. I think I watched it probably back in high school, so we're talking 25, 30 years, So I do plan on watching that soon with my wife. Came out the same year. But aside from that, let me know, guys and gals, where do I go from here? Because I want more of this. I want more of Danger Diabolik. I was looking on IMDb. I think there's a newer incarnation of this film. I will probably check it out. I don't know where it is. I haven't looked into it too much. Looks like it came out like in the 2000s or something. So it's like pretty recent. So I'm intrigued to see that. But, let me know if there's something from the 60s that I should check out if I'm really digging on this. And let me know if I should, rewatch Batman 66. Those TV shows are they better than I think they are? As someone who's older now, I can maybe appreciate the sensibilities of it. So, anyways, let me know, guys and gals. I'm all ears. I'll go in any direction someone tells me to go in. If they like Danger Diabolik too, let me know. And, thank you for listening to my little mini reviews. I know I kind of prattle on and everything, but I have a good time doing them. And, I just really want people to rediscover these films the way I have. And, there's just so many different eras of films out there. And for a long time, I was like really into like 70s horror. And I just get into like these different eras and everything and these different genres. And just now I'm in this like, my God, Cinescope, Technicolor, 60s, whatever you want to call it. I just want more vibrant colors, more fun comic book representation. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you guys go and check out Danger Diabolik. I hope you guys pick up the Kino 4K. It's worth it. If you have any interest in it, it's definitely worth it. It looks great. Sounds great. The music in this movie is amazing. The theme song for this movie is awesome. It's so fucking cool. The clubs they go to, the outfits, it's just make movies like this again, please. Bring back the 60s. So, all right, guys and gals, hope you enjoyed it. And as always, we'll see you on the Diabolik side.
Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can support the show by joining our Patreon page, picking up a t-shirt from our merch store, or leaving us a 5-star review. Follow us on Instagram at Podcasting After Dark. All links can be found on our website at www.podcastingafterdark.com. And join us next time for another cult movie or TV show review with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.